The Tesla CEO has hit a new milestone, becoming the first person in history to surpass a net worth of $400 billion.
Did Elon Musk's net worth by about $70 billion to close to $320 billion.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the greatest capitalist in the history of the United States of America, Elon Musk.
People have called you the real Tony Stark. Okay, you've got your finger in so many different advanced technologies. As I said, SpaceX, Tesla, now you've got Solar City and the solar pack that people put in their houses. Are you sincerely trying to save the world?
The richest man on earth, that's what they called Elon Musk. The man who built electric cars that could outrun Ferraris, rockets that could return from space, and who spoke, with startling conviction, about turning Mars into humanity's next home. To many, he was the living blueprint of the future part inventor, part showman, part messiah of innovation. Tesla changed how we drive, SpaceX changed how we dream, even his jokes could move global markets. For a while, it seemed like nothing and no one could touch him. But somewhere between launching rockets and launching tweets, that heroic image began to fracture. Today, the same man once hailed as a visionary is often described as erratic, polarizing, even dangerous. His social media empire burns with controversy. His public statements spark political storms.
They attack you a lot.
They do.
Yeah.
Elon Musk was never ordinary, not even as a child. Born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971, he grew up under the bright, unforgiving African sun. A quiet boy lost in books, computers, and dreams of space. At just 12, he coded and sold his first video game for $500, a small glimpse of the restless mind that would later reshape industries. His story wasn't one of poverty, but it wasn't peaceful either. His father, Elon Musk, was a successful engineer, and the family lived comfortably. Yet behind the walls of privilege were cracks. At school, Elon was bullied so badly he was once hospitalized. At home, he faced what he later called a difficult and painful relationship with his father. Those years didn't break him, they built him. They gave him a fierce determination and a kind of emotional armor that would shape how he worked, how he led, and how he saw the world. In 1988, he left South Africa for Canada, determined to escape the apartheid-era draft and what he called a spirit of suppression, after studying at Queen's University and then the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned degrees in physics and economics. Musk set his sights on Silicon Valley, the true launchpad for his ambitions. By 1995, armed with $2,000 and relentless energy, he co-founded Zip2, selling it 4 years later for $307 million. He reinvested his profits into XCOM, an online banking startup that would merge into PayPal. When eBay bought PayPal in 2002, Musk walked away with $175 million, enough to retire for life. But instead of comfort, he chose chaos. He poured his fortune into two dreams few believed in: SpaceX, built on the idea that humanity must become multiplanetary, and Tesla, driven by a mission to electrify transportation and save Earth itself. Those bets would make him a legend and one of the most divisive figures of the modern age. By the early 2010s, Elon Musk had become more than a businessman, he was a global icon. Tesla made electric cars desirable. The sleek Model S proved that sustainability could be fast, beautiful, and profitable. Its success sent Tesla's stock soaring and turned Musk into a symbol of clean innovation. Meanwhile, SpaceX was rewriting history. In 2012, its Falcon 9 rocket became the first private spacecraft to reach the International Space Station. NASA went from skeptic to client. Musk wasn't just building rockets, he was rebuilding humanity's sense of possibility. To a world anxious about climate and collapse, he spoke with unshakable confidence: colonize Mars, end fossil fuels, merge humans with AI. His words felt like prophecies. Pop culture crowned him the real-life Tony Stark. Every tweet made headlines. Every stunt from flamethrowers to late-night interviews fed the myth. By 2021, he was the richest man alive, worth over $300 billion. His influence stretched from Wall Street to outer space. Fans called him a genius. Critics called him dangerous. But everyone watched. And at that peak, when Musk seemed untouchable, the first shadows began to move. Because in a world built on admiration, doubt is all it takes to start the fall. Every empire of fame carries cracks small at first, almost invisible until one day they split wide open. For Elon Musk, those cracks didn't come all at once. They began as ripples, then grew into waves. It started in 2018, the year his image began to shift. That August, Musk shocked Wall Street with a single tweet: considering taking Tesla private at $420. Funding secured, the market went wild, stocks surged, then collapsed when the SEC revealed there was no funding at all. Musk was fined $20 million and forced to step down as Tesla's chairman. But instead of retreating, he retaliated. mocking regulators as the short seller enrichment commission. It was the first clear sign that his impulsiveness online could turn from daring to self-destructive. Weeks later, the same pattern returned, vision followed by volatility. During the Thai cave rescue that gripped the world, Musk offered to send a custom-built mini-submarine when one of the divers dismissed the idea as a PR stunt. Musk lashed out on Twitter, calling him a pedo guy. He eventually won the defamation case, but the damage to his image lingered. The man once admired as a bold innovator was now seen by many as erratic and unpredictable. Behind the scenes, the cracks widened. Inside Tesla's factories, employees described relentless hours, sudden firings, and a culture driven by fear. Musk dismissed the reports as lies, but accounts of his explosive temper and impossible expectations told another story of a visionary whose obsession with perfection was consuming everything around him. Then came the contradictions. He preached sustainability yet relied on private jets for short trips. He praised free speech but routinely blocked critics and journalists online. He called himself a rational first principles thinker, yet filled his feed with memes, taunts, and late-night rants. Each incident bled into the next, each tweet louder than the last. To fans, it was just Musk being Musk, the rule-breaker who refused to play it safe. To others, it was the slow unraveling of a man who once seemed unstoppable. And yet, despite the controversies, the public still forgave him. His genius, his audacity, his undeniable impact made people want to believe that his flaws were simply the price of brilliance. Musk was still seen as the man pushing humanity forward, still admired by millions who saw him as proof that one person could change the world. But that patience wouldn't last forever, because one day, the line between visionary and villain would blur and the world would begin to question the man it once called a hero. By 2022, Elon Musk's story had reached the level of legend. He was the richest man on Earth, commanding rockets, satellites, and electric cars that promised to redefine the future. But that same year, he made a move that stripped away the myth and revealed the man beneath impulsive, contradictory, unfiltered. He bought Twitter. At first, it seemed like another Musk sideshow. He began by criticizing Twitter's moderation policies, accusing the platform of silencing free speech. Then, quietly, he started buying shares until, almost overnight, he owned nearly 10% of the company. What began as online banter turned into a $44 billion takeover bid, the most expensive in social media history. For a moment, it looked like another bold Musk play, a billionaire rescuing digital democracy. But once the deal closed, the dream collapsed. Within days, Musk fired Twitter's top executives, the legal team, and entire departments that had kept the platform stable. 80% of the workforce vanished. What was once a messy but functioning town square of global conversation quickly spiraled into chaos. Hate speech, fake accounts, and conspiracy theories flooded the feed. Advertisers fled, unwilling to risk their brands beside the new noise. Musk had promised absolute free speech, yet he began suspending journalists and critics, sometimes for tracking his private jet, other times for simply questioning him. The contradictions were impossible to miss. The man who vowed to liberate speech was silencing it in real time. When challenged, he mocked. When warned, he memed. The world watched a billionaire turn one of the internet's most influential platforms into a stage for his own impulses. As Twitter bled credibility and cash, Musk renamed it X, erasing one of the most recognizable brands in digital history. He spoke of turning it into a super app, part bank, part marketplace, part everything, but what emerged instead was confusion. Engagement dropped, advertisers disappeared, and the platform that once shaped elections and revolutions began to feel like a digital echo chamber built around one man's whims. Outside Twitter, the consequences spread fast. Tesla's stock fell by more than 50% as investors accused Musk of abandoning the company that made him famous. SpaceX continued to succeed through government contracts, but even its triumphs couldn't drown out the noise of his public unraveling. The world that once saw him as a visionary now saw him as a cautionary tale, a man who mistook attention for admiration, and disruption for direction. His fall wasn't sudden. It was slow, visible, and self-inflicted, one tweet, one feud, one impulse at a time. By the time the dust settled, the man who once promised to save humanity from itself had become something else entirely, proof that even the brightest visionaries can burn under their own lights. After months of chaos, Elon Musk seemed to realize that the empire he'd built on admiration was slipping through his fingers. For the first time in years, his confidence looked more like defense than vision. He began speaking about rebuilding trust, promising that X would become a platform for truth-seeking and civilization's dialogue. He held live audio chats, invited journalists to interviews, and declared that the media had always been unfair to him. On the surface, it looked like an attempt at redemption, a man misunderstood, ready to reintroduce himself to the world, but beneath the rhetoric, little had changed. His apologies were never really apologies. When advertisers left in protest over the platform's toxicity, he told them to go fuck yourself live on stage at a conference, a moment that instantly went viral and shattered any illusion of humility. His followers cheered, calling it authenticity. His critics called it arrogance. Musk seemed unable, or perhaps unwilling, to understand that redemption required reflection, not rebellion. He tried to distract the world with new ambitions, humanoid robots, brain chips, space colonies, AI models that could save humanity. But each new announcement felt more like noise than innovation. A desperate attempt to outpace the controversy surrounding him. Even his personal gestures talking about family, fatherhood, or mental health came across as rehearsed, filtered through the same lens of performance that had once made him adored. Public sympathy eroded further. Longtime supporters began to drift away, quietly unfollowing, while investors complained that his behavior was costing billions. The redemption arc he had imagined, the comeback of the misunderstood genius, never materialized. The world no longer saw him as a visionary under attack, but as a man trapped by his own reflection, fighting ghosts of his own making. In the end, Musk didn't lose his power or his fortune. What he lost was rarer the benefit of belief. And once the spell of admiration breaks, no technology in the world can put it back together. Today, Elon Musk remains one of the most visible figures on the planet, still leading SpaceX launches, still tweeting into the void, still commanding a fortune that most nations could envy. But his public image has changed beyond recognition. The man who once symbolized the promise of human progress now embodies its contradictions, brilliance intertwined with arrogance, innovation shadowed by chaos. His companies continue to shape the future, yet his name no longer inspires the same universal admiration. For many, Musk has become less a role model and more a reflection of the age we live in, an era where power, technology, and ego collide in plain sight. His fall hasn't ended his influence, but it has reframed it. Tesla remains the face of the electric revolution, though its stock trembles every time Musk opens his mouth. SpaceX continues to dominate the skies, but its success feels detached from the man who started it. X, meanwhile, has become both his greatest symbol and his greatest warning proof that intelligence and impact can't shield anyone from the consequences of self-indulgence. In boardrooms, classrooms, and online forums. His story is now cited as a case study how unchecked confidence can corrode credibility, how vision without discipline becomes noise, and how fame in the digital age can turn from fuel into fire overnight. Musk once said he wanted to die on Mars, just not on impact. Whether that line was humor or prophecy, it captured something about him, a man who always aimed for the stars, even as gravity pulled harder with every mistake. In the end, his legacy may not be the rockets he launched or the cars he built, but the question he forces us to confront: what happens when the person who wants to save humanity can no longer control himself. From adored to divided, from genius to cautionary tale, Elon Musk's story feels less like a biography and more like a mirror. It reflects our fascination with visionaries who promise to change the world, and our disappointment when they turn out to be human after all. For years, Musk embodied the modern myth of progress, the idea that brilliance alone could save us from our problems. But in chasing that myth, he became trapped inside it. He still commands headlines, launches rockets, and moves markets. But something fundamental has shifted. The public no longer sees a savior, only a man who blurred the line between inspiration and obsession. His rise taught us what human ambition can achieve. His fall reminds us what it can destroy. Maybe every age needs its icons, and every icon needs its reckoning. Musk's may simply have come in real-time broadcast, reposted, and replayed to millions of screens around the world. So the question remains, do we ever truly forgive our fallen idols? Or is this just how every story of power ends, not with a crash, but with the slow erosion of belief?